Black Widow, directed by Cate Shortland, is the newest entry into the MCU and is about Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, confronting the darker parts of her ledger when a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises. Pursued by a force that will stop at nothing to bring her down, Natasha must deal with her history as a spy and the broken relationships left in her wake long before she became an Avenger. Alright, a new MCU movie is out. It has been so long, 2 years since we had an MCU movie. We've had the Disney Plus shows, but it is so nice to finally see a big MCU action spectacle on the big screen again. I've seen this movie 2 times already, so I think I've had a pretty good chance to structure my thoughts and form my complete opinion. So what did I think? Well, I really liked it. Black Widow is a great time at the movies and another solid entry into the MCU. Tonally, this is a much more dark, maybe a bit more mature, a bit more gritty MCU film. And it takes a lot of inspiration from today's big spy action genre films like Bourne and Bond and Mission Impossible. A lot of the fight choreography and action and style feels like a big mix of a lot of those films. And I think it pulled off pretty well. Right from the start, I was invested and engaged. They bring us back to Natasha's earlier years, and they tell us the beginning of her story, and I think that did a great job of setting up this film, setting up what it was going to explore, setting up what the themes were going to be, what the emotional core of this film was going to be. This flashback is followed by a really cool Bond-esque title sequence that I really enjoyed and I thought was really refreshing to see in an MCU film. But where this film really strives is through its family aspects. Everything revolving around Natasha and her family was fantastic, and this was largely because of the performances. Florence Pugh and David Harbour are so great in this movie. So good. They steal every scene that they are in, sometimes even stealing the spotlight away from Black Widow herself, Scarlett Johansson. They are fantastic, they're hilarious, they're witty, they instantly cement themselves as iconic MCU characters, and I cannot wait to see what they are in next. Florence Pugh especially, which we know he's going to be in the Hawkeye show, really shines here. She handles all of the action really well, the humor, the witty dialogue. She is, because of their performances and the chemistry between them, it makes all of the family moments really touching, really engaging, and a lot of fun too. A lot of the problems I had with the movie, which I will get into in a minute, were ultimately diminished because of how much I enjoyed these characters, how much I enjoyed seeing them interact with each other. Every moment with them on screen together was a blast to watch. I also found this movie was paced fairly well. It balances the action sequences with the dramatic character moments pretty well and flows between them fairly nicely. The main glaring weakness here is one that you have probably already heard about, and that is the villain. The villain here is kind of just uninteresting. It's a typical bad guy villain that we've seen a million times. He doesn't have any setup, he doesn't have any motivations that we can get behind. He has nothing about him to latch onto. He is a flat MCU villain that you'll forget about in a day. Taskmaster also had a lot of potential that it did not live up to. There was a lot of cool things you could have done with the whole replicating Avengers moves thing, but the fights that Taskmaster had were pretty underwhelming and uninspired. They were typical action fights that didn't quite use that cool feature about Taskmaster to its full advantage. Action sequences started and ended fairly quickly with Taskmaster, and I just think that there was a lot more that could have been done. Another issue I had was kind of the third act overall, and the villains kind of fit into this, which is that the third act just felt kind of messy and out of place with the rest of the movie. The first 2 acts I thought were very solid and did a great job setting up, leading into the third act. But then the third act kind of changes the tone and the feel of the movie, and it turns into much more of a typical Marvel CGI action splash. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean in that the final battle kind of felt out of place with what the rest of the movie was. Much less grounded, literally. It's strayed away from the Bond, Bourne-esque kind of feel for a bigger spectacle that just didn't really work for me. But despite that, this movie is still a great time. Like I said, fantastic characters, amazing performances, great character moments, some really solid action in the first two halves. So even though the villain is on the weaker side and the third act doesn't quite live up to the film's full potential, it's a worthy entry into the MCU and definitely worth your time. And with that, I'm going to be giving Black Widow a solid 3.5 out of 5. Alright, so make sure you let me know what you thought of Black Widow down in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know all of your thoughts. Alright, also check me out on Letterboxd if you want to see my thoughts for movies before I ever talk about them on here. I review every single movie I watch over there, so check it out. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.